We last ventured to the magical, mystical shores of the Indigo Islanders by visiting one of the most iconic sets in all of LEGO Pirates, the incredible Enchanted Island. And while I don't think there's much debate as to where this beauty ranks among the other sets in the wave, Islanders was one of those rare instances where there wasn't really a bad set to be found across the entire sub-theme. There was something here for everyone, in every size and price range, which is a statement we haven't been able to make about LEGO Pirates for a long time. The subject of today's video was right in the middle. Cheap enough to be a birthday gift from that aunt and uncle you only saw twice a year, but having ample parts and minifigures for a full-fledged island adventure. So let's once again set a course through the mists of time and pay a visit to good old King Kahuka. Welcome to Trick Bricks. Hello again everyone, I'm Jamie. Islanders holds a special place in my heart due to the fact that some of my earliest memories of getting sucked into LEGO's classic product photography can be traced back to images just like this. They did such an amazing job conveying the lush, vibrant, mysterious vibe that envelops this sub-theme. Outside of the pirates themselves, it's also my favorite faction from the theme, so I'm stoked to be taking another look at it today. The Islanders sets are all extremely cohesive, so of course you wanted them all, so you could combine them into one huge island playscape. I'm sure I'm not alone when I say that idea never got past the wishing phase for me as a kid, but I've certainly enjoyed realizing the childhood dream now, as a Gulu. But as is the case with pretty much every other theme collection in the 80s and 90s, this small to medium-sized set functions equally well as both an expansion to any of the larger offerings, or as a perfectly effective standalone build. By the numbers, 6262 King Kahuka's Throne was released in 1994, contains 146 pieces, 5 minifigures, and originally retailed for $21. At the time of this recording, that's about $47 adjusted for inflation. We begin our story with two scurvy pirates and their humble little sailboat. Thanks to their handy map, they've navigated through treacherous channels and rocky reefs, carrying out Captain Redbeard's orders to seek out a mysterious, uncharted island, whispers of which speak of mountains of gold and unimaginable riches. Charting their course is First Mate Rummy, who's been part of the crew since the beginning, and in addition to being the navigator, he's ready for anything with his trusty flintlock pistol. Joining him in this expedition is Gonzo Goldbar, and he too gets a pistol, as well as a cutlass. Looking closely, you'll see that he sports a nearly identical faceprint, with the only difference being the hair color. They're pretty standard as far as vintage pirate minifigures go, but customizing them with different period-correct faces and accessories can be a fun endeavor, and add a bit of variety to your larger crew. Their little sloop is also something we've seen many times before, and it's unfortunately missing the jib sail found on the one from Enchanted Island. I really felt like this little addition added so much to the look of the boat, but if you want to mod this to include it, expect to pay upwards of $10 for one of these jib sails in decent shape. Of course, there's plenty of room for Rummy and Gonzo, and when they're out at sea, the sail can be adjusted thanks to both a turntable at the mast's base and a hinge connection for the boom. But when it's time to travel upstream, they're given a pair of oars. And that voyage upstream is made a bit more exciting by the inclusion of King Kahuka's favorite pet, this classic crocodile. I do enjoy the modern version of this guy, but there's just something so LEGO about the original. At any rate, it's obviously his lunchtime, and Sea Dog is on the menu. But luckily for our scalawags, a pair of island guards come to their rescue in the nick of time, using their spears to shoo the old croc away. And these aren't just any old Joes. These are, in fact, the king's sons, Kotu and Tu. Or maybe it's Tu and Kotu. I'll let you decide who's who. As you can see, they're identical twins, both sporting the then-new bone and hairpiece combination, as well as some nice torso and leg printing, the latter of which was revolutionary at the time. After a likely tense exchange, Rummy and Gonzo leave the comfort of their little rowboat behind and begin trekking deeper into the island, under the brothers' watchful eyes. They pass by Crocodile Cage with a shudder, through Forbidden Cove with a nervous glance at the Archer Guard, and into the heart of Enchanted Island with wonder at this tropical empire. But their destination is King Kahuka's throne. Built atop a 16 by 16 baseplate, this little slice of the island has a footprint less common than the more prevalent 16 by 32s and 32 by 32s we're used to seeing. But I feel like the size is perfect. It's compact, but not constrictive. Up top, we'll find my favorite feature here, this classic stone face. I absolutely love these, and they're the first thing that comes to mind when I think of this sub-theme. The build for this one is identical to the one seen atop the statue in Enchanted Island. However, it lacks the swivel function. If you miss that mystical touch, adding a turntable is always an option. The design here is so iconic, and it features one of the very rare instances in which LEGO studs themselves actually function as specific details. These two here on the bottom jaw make for great teeth. Both sizes of the palm leaves form a nice canopy over the scene, and a pair of Islanders' shields add a beautiful pop of color. There's also a spear on each side within easy reach. All of this is built upon a single light gray burp, and I like to imagine that this cave extends deep into the island, perhaps the entrance to an old lava tube. But whatever the case may be, there are a few panels and tiles in here which perfectly cradle a treasure chest, which in turn perfectly cradles 4 gold coins. Could this be part of the great riches Captain Redbeard has heard whispers of? Out front, to the left, we've got a fire going, and to the right, one of these awesome zebra skin drums. And they flank this small raised platform. But where's the king? Nervous and tired, but intrigued by that mysterious treasure chest, Rummy and Gonzo find themselves waiting as the brothers disappear into the jungle. But in a moment, they return triumphantly, carrying the one and only King Kahuka upon his litter, which fits perfectly atop the small central platform. The king's bizarre mask, gruesome bone necklace, and enchanted-looking scepter do nothing to quell our pirate's nerves. But for me, it doesn't get much more iconic 90s LEGO than King Kahuka. Everything about him is so spot on, so conducive to imaginative storytelling. He's a true timeless classic, and ranks among the best minifigures the company put out in the 20th century. But back in the 18th century, what happens to Rummy and Gonzo? How does our story end? Do they form an alliance with the king, offering protection from Admiral Woodhouse and his aggressive expansion across the sea in exchange for the islanders' gold? Or perhaps they return to Captain Redbeard with intimate knowledge of where and when to strike for the treasure. Maybe they don't even make it back to their boat. Or what if they just conclude that the pirate's life isn't for them and decide to join the tribe instead? In the end, it's all up to you, the LEGO maniac, to decide. King Kahuka's Throne is one of my personal favorite Islander sets, second only to Enchanted Island, and I think it perfectly encapsulates the kind of imagination-fueling, creativity-sparking sets that inundated LEGO shelves in the 90s. I feel so fortunate to have experienced this time period firsthand, when something didn't need to have 3,000 pieces in order to feel grand. We really didn't know how good we had it back then. Just looking at the box stirs up all kinds of adventures just waiting to be told. And the back of the box is chock full of amazing ideas to expand the Islanders' empire beyond the edges of the map. This set just radiates those warm, fuzzy, nostalgic feelings that keep me coming back to this crazy hobby. And if you're interested in experiencing that for yourself, you can usually pick this up cheaper than a few Speed Champion sets. And I don't think you'll be disappointed if you choose to do so. This set represents something bigger than itself. And it's a great reminder of a simpler time when all it took were a handful of basic bricks and some imagination in order to have yourself an epic adventure. But that's all I've got for you today. If you enjoyed this review, pass it along. I'll be back soon, but until then, this has been Jamie for Trick Bricks. As always, take care and play well.